My name is Ananya Sengupta. I have just completed my PhD at the Henley Business School, University of Reading. I actually come from a background from 25 years of industry in working in corporate finance and mergers and acquisitions, after which I came into academia about 4 years ago. The topic of my thesis is on strategic leadership and specifically strategic leaders with a difference. And the aspects of difference that I have explored in my thesis are about unconventional backgrounds and paradoxical qualities. And what I explored is how these shape decisions and outcomes. So I did a 3-paper model for my thesis, and I had 2 empirical papers and 1 conceptual paper. One of the empirical papers was on strategic leaders with unconventional backgrounds, and specifically backgrounds which are not less desirable, resulting out of poor early life choices. So people with criminal backgrounds, people with addiction histories, who have overcome those to become successful in business. And that was very, very insightful, very enlightening for me, because some of the things we found were maybe intuitive, but not very well explored or understood. Specifically, I followed a discourse analysis methodology for this. So what I did was look at published autobiographies of 4 strategic leaders who have this sort of background and who have then gone on to become successful. And there were very surprisingly consistent discourses that were coming out of these autobiographies. So the autobiographies described how the circumstances that pushed them into those undesirable life choices, but how they then pulled themselves out of it, how they went through transformation, and the interesting thing was the leadership qualities that they actually developed as a result of these transformations. So the discourses that I looked at specifically were related to transformative leadership, and then enduring gratitude and purposeful inclusivity. So the gratitude arose out of them getting a second chance, and along with, because there were lots of people that helped them along the way. They sometimes credited it to God or luck or good Samaritans. But at the end of the day, they felt really grateful. But at the same time, they also felt something that was akin to survivor guilt, because they recognized that they got a second chance, but other people who were equally deserving may not have got the second chance. So that gratitude then, combined with this sort of survivor guilt, made them very, very purposefully inclusive in the rest of their lives, both personal and professional. So when they became successful in business, whether it was their own business that they founded or in the corporate world, they gave other people chances, and they also used their own success and their life story to motivate others. So that was one aspect of strategic leadership that I covered in my thesis. The other thing, the other sort of unusual or different aspect of leadership was paradoxical qualities. So one of my empirical papers covered that. We looked at CEOs in multinational corporations with paradoxical qualities relating to education and experience. And by paradoxical qualities, I mean, in organizational theory, paradox relates to conflicting tensions and how you navigate them. So paradoxical qualities relating to education means a degree that sort of helps you think very broadly and a degree that helps you think very deep. So somebody with an MBA and a PhD could potentially be said to have paradoxical educational attributes. Similarly, with experience, somebody who has had very deep technical experience in a particular function or a subject, vis-a-vis somebody who's had very broad leadership experience across functions. Now, some people have both of them. And then that is, again, that experience sort of teaches you to think differently, and that is also paradoxical. So what we studied was CEOs who have those sorts of paradoxical attributes, and we studied the outcomes that they achieved for their organizations, whether those organizations made better decisions, whether it led to higher growth. And we generally found that paradoxical qualities was important, but we also found that it was not enough just to have those paradoxical attributes, because some people with that diversity and of experience did well, but some people did not. So it was clear that it was more than just the attributes. There was something in the mindset and the way of thinking, the way of decision making that was occurring that made some people successful and others not. So in the third paper, then I explored this a little bit further, and we call this the paradox mindset. How a paradox mindset can help you make better decisions, more creative decisions. And this was a conceptual paper in which I developed a framework that helps guide leaders to develop this paradoxical mindset. So you may have the attributes, you may have a little bit of a head start if you've got the attributes, but if you don't have that mindset, you may or may not be able to convert that into actual outcomes. But the framework that I developed is sort of a step towards helping leaders to do that. So that is really about my thesis. And I've just completed it in November, and I'm looking forward to taking my research forward.